The young and the restless spoilers. Have you ever noticed how one forgotten name can suddenly change everything in Genoa City? Just when it seemed like Billy Abbott and Sally Spectra were finally building the future they had always wanted, new cracks are already beginning to appear. At the same time, an unexpected reminder of Reed Hellstrom has fans asking whether a long-lost member of the Newman family is about to return at the exact moment everyone needs him most. Could Billy's latest decision destroy his engagement before the wedding even happens? And if Reed does come home, what secrets, conflicts, and emotional reunions might be waiting for him? Stay with us, because every piece of this puzzle connects in ways that could completely reshape the lives of the Abbott and Newman families. For a brief moment, it looked as though Billy Abbott had finally found the stability that had escaped him for years. His relationship with Sally Spectra represented something different from his past romances. There was honesty, trust, and perhaps most importantly, hope. Sally believed that Billy had matured enough to stop chasing old battles and start building a future centered on family instead of revenge. But anyone who has followed Billy's journey knows that his greatest enemy has never been another person. It has always been himself. Throughout the years, Billy has repeatedly convinced both himself and those closest to him that he had turned over a new leaf. Every fresh start seemed genuine at first. He would promise to leave old obsessions behind, focus on the people who mattered, and avoid making impulsive decisions. Yet somehow, the same pattern always returned. One unexpected opportunity, one emotional trigger, or one challenge to his pride would send him racing back toward the very chaos he claimed to have left behind. Sally understands this cycle better than most. Unlike many people in Genoa City who judge Billy only by his mistakes, Sally has seen both sides of him. She has witnessed his kindness, his determination, and his sincere desire to become a better man. That is exactly why she allowed herself to dream about a future together. Marriage no longer felt impossible. Raising a child together finally seemed like something they could accomplish as equal partners. However, dreams in Genoa City rarely remain peaceful for long. The latest opportunity involving Chancellor may appear to be nothing more than another career move. On paper, accepting an important leadership position sounds logical. Billy has the experience, the intelligence, and the ambition to succeed. Most people would see it as a chance to rebuild his professional reputation. Sally sees something entirely different. She recognizes the warning signs that others might overlook. Chancellor has never simply been another company in Billy's life. It represents unfinished business, painful memories, personal pride, and emotional wounds that have never completely healed. Every time Billy becomes emotionally connected to Chancellor, his priorities begin to shift. Instead of focusing on the people standing beside him, he starts focusing on proving something to everyone else. That realization fills Sally with quiet fear. She doesn't immediately argue with Billy or demand that he reject the opportunity. Instead, she encourages him to slow down, think carefully, and consider the consequences before making another impulsive decision. It isn't the job itself that frightens her. It's what the job could awaken inside him. Billy, however, believes this time is different. From his perspective, he isn't chasing revenge. He isn't trying to reclaim old victories or settle old scores. He sees this as a chance to demonstrate that he has grown, learned from his past, and can finally balance career success with personal happiness. The problem is that Billy has believed exactly the same thing before. History has a way of repeating itself, especially in Genoa City. As Billy becomes increasingly interested in Chancellor's future, another problem quietly begins to grow beneath the surface. Hidden secrets involving powerful figures threaten to pull everyone into another complicated battle. Billy has never been able to resist uncovering the truth, even when exposing it comes with devastating personal consequences. If he discovers information capable of changing the balance of power, will he really stay silent? Sally already knows the answer. She has watched Billy choose conflict over peace more times than she can count. Even when his intentions are good, his methods often create new problems that affect everyone around him. The question is no longer whether Billy will become involved. The question is how much he will sacrifice before realizing what he stands to lose. As uncertainty begins surrounding Billy's future, another conversation taking place elsewhere in Genoa City quietly captures everyone's attention. Victoria Newman unexpectedly reflects on one of the most meaningful moments of her life, remembering her pregnancy and the story behind her son's name. For longtime viewers, it feels like more than simple nostalgia. The mention of Reed Hellstrom immediately sparks speculation that someone who has remained off-screen for years may finally be preparing to return. Sometimes a single name is enough to remind an entire family of everything they have lost. And in Genoa City, forgotten family members have an uncanny way of returning when they are needed most. What nobody realizes yet is that Billy's uncertain future and Reed's possible homecoming may not be separate stories at all. Instead, they could become two sides of the same emotional storm that is only beginning to gather over the Newman family. The possibility of Reed Hellstrom returning to Genoa City isn't just exciting because fans haven't seen him in years. His return could reopen emotional chapters that many members of the Newman family have quietly tried to leave behind. Time has passed, relationships have changed, and new faces have entered the family. Yet some connections have never had the chance to grow at all. Perhaps the most important of those is Reed's relationship with Claire Newman. When Reed last appeared in Genoa City, Claire wasn't part of anyone's life. Victoria had no idea that another child of hers was alive, and the Newman family continued living with unanswered questions that they didn't even realize existed. Now everything is different. Claire has become an important member of the family, slowly earning trust after an incredibly complicated beginning. If Reed were to walk through the Newman ranch doors today, he wouldn't simply be coming home. He would be meeting a sister he has never truly known. That single reunion could become one of the most emotional moments the show has delivered in years. Reed has always cared deeply about his family, but discovering everything Claire has experienced would undoubtedly leave him struggling with feelings of sadness, guilt, and protectiveness. He might wonder why fate kept them apart for so long and whether they can ever recover the years they lost. Claire, meanwhile, has spent much of her life searching for a place where she truly belongs. Meeting Reed could finally give her another meaningful connection within the Newman family. Instead of constantly looking backward at everything she missed, Claire may finally begin creating new memories with someone who understands what it means to carry the Newman name while trying to build an identity of his own. Victoria would likely find herself caught between overwhelming happiness and lingering regret. As a mother, she has always wanted to protect her children, even when circumstances made that impossible. Seeing Reed and Claire together would remind her of everything life has taken from their family, but it would also offer hope that healing remains possible. While those emotional reunions begin taking shape, another serious concern continues weighing heavily on everyone who loves Nikki Newman. Recent health concerns have reminded the entire family that no one is guaranteed tomorrow. Whenever a beloved family member faces uncertainty, relatives who have been absent often find their way back home. Reed's return under those circumstances would feel completely natural rather than forced. Imagine Nikki opening her front door and seeing her grandson standing there unexpectedly. No dramatic speeches would be necessary. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. One embrace between grandmother and grandson could communicate years of love, missed birthdays, forgotten holidays, and the simple realization that family should never stay apart longer than necessary. But Genoa City has never allowed peaceful reunions to remain peaceful for very long. If Reed returns, he won't be stepping into the same city he left behind. Relationships have shifted dramatically. New rivalries have formed. Old enemies have changed alliances. And perhaps most surprising of all, Victoria's personal life may become far more complicated than Reed ever expected. As whispers continue growing about Victoria becoming emotionally involved with Kyle Abbott, Reed may find himself deeply uncomfortable with the situation. From his perspective, Kyle isn't simply another man his mother happens to be dating. He's someone connected to Claire's recent romantic past, making the entire situation far more emotionally complicated than it appears on the surface. Reed has always been protective of the people he loves. That protective instinct could quickly place him in direct conflict with Victoria, especially if he believes she's making decisions that could hurt Claire emotionally. Family disagreements have always been part of life in Genoa City, but this one would carry an especially personal weight because everyone involved genuinely believes they're doing the right thing. Meanwhile, across town, Billy Abbott continues convincing himself that accepting new professional responsibilities won't interfere with his personal life. Unfortunately, small warning signs are already beginning to appear. Instead of discussing long-term plans with Sally, Billy's conversations increasingly revolve around strategy, business decisions, and opportunities connected to Chancellor. Without realizing it, his priorities are slowly beginning to shift. Sally notices every change. She recognizes how Billy's excitement grows each time another challenge presents itself. She hears the subtle difference in his voice whenever Chancellor becomes the subject of conversation. More importantly, she remembers exactly how similar moments unfolded in the past. She doesn't want another promise. She wants proof. Billy believes he can balance everything: career, love, fatherhood, marriage, family. But balancing those responsibilities requires something Billy has struggled to maintain throughout much of his adult life: consistency. The tragedy isn't that Billy lacks good intentions. The tragedy is that his confidence often convinces him he's stronger than the temptations waiting ahead. As Billy moves one step closer toward another dangerous crossroads, Reed's possible return promises to remind everyone that the choices made today will shape the Newman family's future for years to come. Neither Billy nor Victoria realizes it yet, but their separate journeys are moving toward the same emotional collision, one that could permanently redefine loyalty, love, and family in Genoa City. As the days pass, the atmosphere in Genoa City grows noticeably heavier. On the surface, everyone appears to be moving forward with their lives, but beneath the calm exterior, old habits, unresolved emotions, and long-buried family wounds are beginning to resurface. The deeper Billy Abbott becomes involved with Chancellor, the more obvious it becomes that Sally Spectra's fears were never based on insecurity. They were based on experience. Billy has always believed he could outsmart his own weaknesses. Every time life offered him another chance, he convinced himself that this chapter would end differently. He promised himself that he would stay focused, remain patient, and refuse to let business consume his personal life. Yet history has rarely been kind to Billy when ambition and emotion collide. At first, the changes are almost impossible to notice. He begins taking more phone calls during family time. Meetings become longer than expected. Conversations with Sally become shorter, more distracted, and increasingly centered around business strategy instead of the future they once dreamed about together. Sally doesn't immediately confront him. Instead, she quietly watches. She notices the exhausted look in his eyes after another late-night meeting. She hears the excitement in his voice whenever Chancellor becomes the topic of discussion. More importantly, she recognizes the return of something she hoped had disappeared forever, that familiar obsession that slowly pushes everything else into the background. For Sally, this isn't simply about another job. It's about watching the man she loves slowly become someone she barely recognizes. Meanwhile, Billy uncovers information that has the potential to change everything. Hidden decisions, private agreements, and carefully guarded secrets surrounding Chancellor begin falling into place like pieces of a complicated puzzle. Billy has always possessed an instinct for exposing the truth, even when that truth creates more destruction than peace. He tells himself that revealing the facts is the right thing to do. But Sally understands something Billy often forgets. Being right doesn't always make the outcome worth the cost. As whispers begin spreading through Genoa City, tensions rise among several powerful families. Alliances become fragile. Friendships are tested. Every new revelation creates another ripple that reaches people who never expected to become involved. And just when it seems the Abbott family has enough problems to handle, attention quietly shifts back toward the Newman family. News that Reed Hellstrom may finally be considering a return begins circulating among those closest to Victoria. Nobody knows whether the rumors are true, but even the possibility changes the emotional landscape. Victoria finds herself reflecting on years she can never recover. She remembers watching Reed grow from a curious little boy into a young man determined to find his own path. She also remembers every goodbye that became longer than expected until visits became phone calls, and phone calls eventually became silence. Now, for the first time in years, hope quietly begins replacing regret. If Reed truly returns, he won't simply be coming back to visit. He'll be stepping into an entirely different version of the Newman family. Claire has become someone Victoria never imagined she would have the chance to know. Nikki has endured health struggles that reminded everyone how precious time really is. Victor continues holding the family together in his own complicated way, while each generation faces challenges that seem larger than the last. Reed's arrival could become the emotional glue that reconnects people who have slowly drifted apart. Yet reunions in Genoa City rarely happen without unexpected complications. As Reed learns more about Claire's past, he may begin asking difficult questions. Why did fate keep them apart for so many years? Why did Claire have to endure so much pain before finding her family? And perhaps most importantly, how can they make up for years that can never be replaced? Those conversations won't have easy answers. But they may offer something even more valuable: understanding. Back across town, Sally reaches a painful realization. She loves Billy deeply. She believes he loves her just as much. But love alone cannot build a lasting future if trust keeps breaking under the weight of the same repeated mistakes. For the first time since their engagement, Sally begins wondering whether postponing the wedding might actually protect both of them instead of hurting them. She doesn't want to punish Billy. She wants him to understand exactly what's at stake. Marriage isn't just about promises spoken during a ceremony. It's about choosing each other every single day, especially when life offers easier distractions. Billy still believes he has everything under control. He doesn't realize that while he's fighting to secure his future at Chancellor, he may already be losing the future waiting for him at home. As the pressure continues building, both the Abbott and Newman families unknowingly move closer to a turning point that could redefine several lives at once. Billy must soon decide whether ambition is worth risking the woman who has stood beside him through countless setbacks. Victoria may finally receive the reunion she has secretly hoped for during years of separation. And somewhere beyond Genoa City, Reed Hellstrom faces a decision of his own, a decision that could change not only his future, but the future of everyone waiting for him to come home. The biggest emotional chapter, however, has not yet begun. Every great story in Genoa City eventually reaches a moment when every decision, every secret, and every relationship begins to collide. As the emotional pressure continues to build, both the Abbott and Newman families find themselves standing on the edge of life-changing moments that could reshape their futures in ways no one expected. For Billy Abbott, the warning signs are impossible to ignore. What began as an exciting professional opportunity has slowly become another all-consuming mission. He still insists that everything is under control, but his actions tell a different story. Every new challenge at Chancellor demands more of his attention. Every unexpected revelation pulls him deeper into conflicts that have defined much of his adult life. Billy doesn't intentionally push Sally away. In fact, he continues believing that everything he's doing will ultimately benefit the future they're trying to build together. He imagines providing stability for their growing family, proving that he can finally balance success at work with happiness at home. Unfortunately, intentions don't always determine outcomes. Sally has watched this cycle unfold before. She remembers every promise Billy made after previous disappointments. She remembers the confidence, the optimism, and the genuine belief that things would finally be different. Yet every fresh beginning eventually gave way to the same familiar pattern. This time, however, the stakes are much higher. Their relationship is no longer just about romance. It's about trust. It's about family. It's about creating the kind of stable future their child deserves. Sally reaches a painful conclusion that no one in love ever wants to face. Sometimes the strongest act of love isn't saying yes. Sometimes it's refusing to move forward until both people are truly ready. Rather than allowing resentment to quietly grow, Sally may decide to put the wedding plans on hold. Such a decision wouldn't necessarily mean the relationship is over. Instead, it could become the wake-up call Billy desperately needs. For the first time, Billy may finally understand that losing Sally isn't an impossible scenario. He has always managed to earn another chance. But every relationship has limits. If Billy truly wants a future with Sally, he'll have to prove his commitment through consistent actions rather than emotional promises. While the Abbott family faces its own emotional crossroads, hope quietly begins emerging within the Newman family. The possibility of Reed Hellstrom returning home continues gaining momentum. Whether he arrives unexpectedly or plans a heartfelt visit, his homecoming would represent far more than another familiar face returning to Genoa City. It would symbolize healing. Victoria has carried years of regret over the moments she missed with her son. Seeing Reed walk through the front door would instantly remind her that no amount of time can erase the bond between a mother and her child. Equally meaningful would be Reed's first real opportunity to build a relationship with Claire. Both siblings have spent years living separate lives, unaware of the connection that existed between them. Now they have the rare chance to create something completely new, a relationship based not on shared history, but on shared hope for the future. Nikki would undoubtedly treasure every moment with her grandson, especially after everything her family has recently endured. Sometimes a family reunion arrives exactly when everyone needs to remember what truly matters. Of course, this is Genoa City. Peace rarely lasts forever. New alliances will continue forming. Old rivalries won't disappear overnight. Unexpected betrayals could still change everything. Billy's decisions may send shockwaves through Chancellor. Victoria's personal life could become even more complicated. Reed's return might uncover forgotten family tensions that no one is fully prepared to confront. Yet that's exactly what has always made The Young and the Restless so compelling. Every generation inherits unfinished stories from the generation before it. Every family celebration carries the possibility of heartbreak. Every reunion opens the door to both healing and conflict. Looking ahead, the coming weeks could become some of the most emotionally charged episodes fans have seen in quite some time. Billy's struggle between ambition and family may finally force him to choose what truly matters. Sally's patience could reach its absolute limit, leaving their engagement hanging by a thread. At the same time, the Newman family may discover that welcoming Reed home creates opportunities for forgiveness, reconciliation, and entirely new storylines that connect the past with the future. No matter how these stories unfold, one thing seems certain. Nothing in Genoa City remains unchanged for long. Every choice creates another consequence. Every secret eventually comes to light. And every return has the power to change countless lives. With emotions running high and several major turning points approaching, fans have every reason to keep watching. The next chapter promises difficult decisions, heartfelt reunions, unexpected conflicts, and the kind of unforgettable drama that has kept viewers invested in Genoa City for generations. The biggest surprises, however, may still be waiting just around the corner.